What does legacy mean to you?
Yes. Legacy is life contribution beyond the life that you live.
Legacy is critical to survival.
Legacy means the transfer of accomplishments, achievements from one generation to another.
Legacy for me means standing on something.
Taking all that hard work that our ancestors did and building on that.
Legacy to me means life after.
What's left behind when you're no longer physically here?
You don't see the seed in the ground, but you water it every day. Sun hits it.
Even though I will never bear the fruit of the foundation that we are building, I want it to start with me. I want it to start with us.
I got the key, you can't hold me. My destiny is unfolding. One thing I know is I gotta stay focused. Ooh, I'm cold like that. It's a double shot of tea, baby, cause I'm bold like that. I'm in too deep, expose the facts. History repeats, but we ain't going back. No, we ain't going back.
Tulsa has historically tried to ignore its past, tried to ignore the 1921 race massacre. There was a mass slaughter of black folks. Hundreds of homes and businesses were burnt to the ground. This, at that time, was the only place in the United States that had ever been bombed from the air.
The African-American community across the country is being assailed and attacked. Mob violence, lynchings, the urban riots, all of this was part and parcel of a very, very terrible period in African-American history.
It was a domestic terrorist attack because of the jealousy of the prosperity within the black community. The people who lived here were upper middle class people.
Greenwood, if one doesn't know, is better known as Black Wall Street. It was a black majority of people who owned businesses. They had churches, restaurants, everything you think of.
The spirit to me of Black Wall Street, I can't tell you. It's just a place that you have to visit to understand it. I saw the fires, the riots. I couldn't believe all that happened in Tulsa. And our young people, they need to know what Wall Street means. We need to know what Wall Street means. So that way, that's not stuff that's repeated.
As we approach the centennial commemoration of the 1921 race massacre, all one would need to do is to look at the news and look at the comments, the public comments, to see what the racial tensions are. Everything we try to implement that will improve the quality of life for African Americans in this city is met with a fight. One of the things I say constantly is we've had to fight for everything we've received since we got off the boat, and that has not changed.
I keep hearing about the word reconciliation, and I'm like, wait a minute, that means restoring friendly relations, which presupposes that we've created them. And I don't know a point in our history when we've ever done it. There is no racial reconciliation in the context of Tulsa. It's an oxymoron.
The city overall often feels like it's in a state of denial. We're not in a place where anyone wants to admit responsibility for the disparities that continue to happen today. I think of Black Wall Street as critical to survival and critical to our ability to thrive. The most disturbing thing about moving through the postcards and the pictures was this feeling that history is repeating itself, and that's kind of the elephant in the room that no one wants to name. The community still feels like it's on fire, and so what then am I responsible to do now, knowing what I know, seeing what I have seen? What is my responsibility in terms of how I move throughout the world? So one of the things I really want to do out here, I know we have this beautiful window space, is potentially get permits to do a little outside seating here, so when the weather's nice, people can kind of sit inside, sit outside, have a little patio deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
And then we got part of the ceiling up on this side.
This is nice.
I know. I grew up in foster care, and there was a time in my life where I didn't know anyone who had known me before the age of 9. And that felt really isolating, and it felt like the idea of home was elusive and that I would never have that feeling. I reconnected with my biological family, and I go to this house, and I walk in, and my great Aunt Daisy embraces me, and she starts telling me the story of, you know, me being a baby in that house. And for the first time, I had this feeling of home. And so the house was on Fulton Street. To me, Fulton Street became a symbol of home. It was my last year of teaching. I knew I wasn't returning to the classroom, and I started actually writing down what would it mean to have a bookstore. And then right here, what we'll do is put like a few inch wood platform. So when we're having programming, you got speakers, you got your poets, you got your artists right here. I want people to walk into this space and feel a little bit of that feeling. This feels like home to me.
It's really good. I mean, it's impressive.
Thank you.
It's gonna be awesome. Are you gonna have a heater in here?
Yes, I'm gonna have a heater in here.
Or is it gonna be a summer business? You said you want people to feel like, oh wow, this place was created with me in mind.
Yes. I think people are going to come to this space even though they don't live in the Heights because it's a space for them. So knowing that we have combined enough student loan debt to buy a couple houses, how do you feel about us now adding this additional business loan?
It's almost crazy that it's easier to get student loans than it is to get, loans to start a business.
If it was as easy to get this business loan as it was to get a student loan, this business would already be open. I don't have parents who are financing my business. So what it means for me is potentially putting my house on the line. What it means for me is irreparable credit damage. So the consequences are higher.
I think we're betting on ourselves, betting on you. And if we have a viable business plan and business idea, something that we know can produce returns, then I think it's a good bet. So betting on you. So don't let us down.
I am who I am because I'm running away from something. I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to, it's more of the things that I don't want to be that often drive me. And so when you talk about masks, that is the mask that I wear, trying to look like who I aspire to be and not who I feel like on the daily.
There's this economic trickle-down effect. And when you mention smaller towns like Tulsa, the dollar goes so far in those smaller towns that allows for economic stability, that actually goes to financial wellness.
Cooperative economics has always been quite prevalent because of the nature of oppression and discrimination. African American people cannot fully participate in the American society, so they have to build their own.
When it comes to building your confidence and just success around money, there's 3 things that I found that are most helpful. First is knowledge. The second thing is access. And the third is community. Community provides encouragement. Community provides normalization of the struggle. And community also provides this sense of you're able to do so and that other people are going through what you're going through as well.
Can I please have your attention for just a moment?
We've assembled here this evening to actually show love to Onika. She's decided to invest in our community, to give back, to focus on literacy. We're lucky. So I want to say thank you, Onika, for having the fortitude to step out on faith, to pursue your dreams and passions.
Thank you for being here. It feels good to be around family, y'all. And that's what Fulton Street is supposed to be. It's a space for us to have conversation, to have dialogue in the way that we naturally would. It's a space to build community. It's a space to build relationship. And so I am so excited that I have the privilege to build that here in Tulsa with each and every one of you. As much as I own this, we own this. And so thank you, thank you, thank you to every single person in this room. I could not do this without you.
Yes, yes. Let's have a toast to Onika, the dream of our ancestors. Yeah. Salute!
Money makes me feel good.
Secure.
Confidence.
Reassurance.
Power.
If I don't have no money, I'm tight. I'm upset. Straight up.
It's not just something you just ball out with. Right. You know, though I would like to ball sometimes.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all ball sometimes.
Detroit ain't no joke, okay? Detroit ain't no joke. And we still ain't no joke.
A Detroiter is someone head up, shoulders back, working hard, determined, focused. The work ethic of this town is serious.
A Detroiter personifies the existence of a city that was one of the most creative entities in the world. That is the essence of Detroit. It is a place of connectivity.
We were born moving. We were 1 in 5 million, migrating toward the north to find work for opportunity. Fathers, grandmothers, 140 trains arriving daily, a place known as an underground railroad stop.
In the mid-century period, blacks began to rush into the city. They were coming at the behest of Henry Ford, who put out a call. I will pay $5 a day for anyone who wants to come here and work.
We're at the Highland Park Ford Model T plant. African Americans are working in these factories, and they're now finally able to rent space, but in some cases buy homes. However, even though he's paying African Americans the same wages as the white workers, they're not doing the same work as white workers.
The most dirty, the hardest, the most life-threatening jobs. Black people also were severely limited as far as being compressed into limited neighborhoods, and one of those neighborhoods being Black Bottom.
The capital of Black Bottom and the main street was called Hastings. Hastings was the street where all the black businesses was. And what happened is the establishment eventually took a bulldozer, and when they put in I-75, they took the bulldozer straight down the black economic system, right down Hastings. Can you imagine what those businesses would be worth today? I mean, in the billions.
Ford Motor Company, Chrysler, Sears, Kresge's, Highland Appliance, all of those things were here operating at their peak from the 1920s to the 1950s in Highland Park. Highland Park's population has gone down significantly, and many of those businesses, they're no longer in the city of Highland Park. We see a lot of things in the new Detroit. There's new shops, new restaurants, new stores, particularly in downtown and midtown. But of course, what's also happening is the removal of people and the removal of history.
We are in Highland Park, specifically in the Avalon Village. The Avalon Village is basically a living space, a community that was built out of blighted and abandoned houses. The Homework House is the first entity that was built out of a house that was on a demolition list. It's a space where children can actually feel like they're home and have a peaceful space to just live, learn, and play. This land was totally dead. It needed a healing. Even though it was in its fall, it was still worth something, it was still beautiful, and it could be a phoenix rising.
I set a goal about 10 years ago. By the age of 55, I want to be able to gainfully employ 50 to 100 people. and multiply that every 5 years from there. Once money becomes reciprocal in the community, it no longer feels like money, it feels like a bloodline, and it feels like something that we can build off of.
Money is a real big factor in younger people's lives nowadays because we're in a transition stage. We're learning how to live on our own and how to create opportunities with our own money. When you sit and actually focus on a task, there's a lot of things that you can accomplish when you choose and decide that that's what you want to do. But you have to be committed, and you have to be driven, and you have to understand it's going to take a lot of sacrifices.
Jonah, go tell Braylon to come here. Thank you. Say good morning, please.
Raising children, making sure they eat every day.
You ready to go to school? No, I'm actually right here up the street.
Making sure that everything's done, homework's done.
All right, see you later.
And half the time, let's say I may get 4 hours of sleep. I tell my kids that education is very important. I have to be honest with them. I didn't go to college right after high school. I went to cosmetology school, but I was so caught up in doing other things in life that I didn't finish cosmetology school. I always tell them now, because I learned the hard way, finish what you start. That's my main rule to them, because after so many years and then getting of age, things get harder. But I'm great at doing hair. That's what I do. So I'm going back to cosmetology school to finish. I have a lot of side hustles.
Hey, how you doing? Good, how are
Decorating, making clothes, doing hair.
Yeah, whenever you are.
When I turned 10, I started pressing my own hair. I taught myself how to cut my own hair, braid my own hair, and then after that, it just took off. If someone calls me at 2 o'clock in the morning and they say, I need my hair done, I'm up, let's get it. That's money in my pocket. Whatever I can get my hands on, I'm gonna hustle to make the money to feed my family. I have a cycle every month of car note getting paid. I set aside food money. Recently, I just paid most of my credit card bills off, but I have student loans, about $25,000 in student loans. It's a lot of stuff that gets thrown back on the back burner because I just don't have it, or my husband just doesn't have it. Me and the kids don't even have insurance at this moment because I'm on a leave of absence. 2007, I was in a motorcycle accident. My femur was broken in two, my ankle was shattered, and I have at least $90,000 in medical bills. Those payment arrangements that I can stick to, I do. If I know I don't have it, I just don't even try to make it because I can't. I know, and it's sad to say, after years, some of the medical bills will fall off, but I'm still dealing with my student loans. And I'm completely in debt to the point where I can't even breathe.
Money makes me feel. Let me think about that.
Money.
Money.
Money just makes me feel, Never thought about that question.
Money?
Money.
Money is complicated.
Money makes me feel uncertain.
Money?
Money.
It doesn't make me feel. If I have it, I have it. If I don't, I don't.
Money is a tool. It's not the money itself. It's what the money allows you to do. But true wealth and true money is really your mind.
Money.
Money.
Money is something that everyone needs to survive.
Money makes me feel free.
In my mother's passing, she left the house to all 3 of her daughters. I don't know. To be honest, I don't want to sell the house.
I know, but her wishes were that the house was sold because everybody got their space, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
That's what she has to do.
The day she passed, I went upstairs and I stayed in her bed after everybody left. It's hard being there without her. I miss her. This is a beautiful house. I would love to be able to rent it out to someone. That house means the world to me.
Hello. Oh, that made you laugh, didn't it? That made you laugh, didn't it?
You know, Mama hated pictures.
She would take them, but she wouldn't want you to take hers.
Oh, this was Terry and Crystal's wedding.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So many memories.
So it's these, the hats I got in the dining room. Wanted you to kind of go through them with me to see what I should do with them.
Oh, okay.
It's the First Lady hat. This is the one I like. The First Lady hat.
All right, all right.
I like my hat.
Had you thought about, like when you sell the house and you get your portion, had you thought about what you were going to do with your portion of the money?
I need to put some money up for my children.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good idea.
That's my number one goal. That's my first start.
Right.
I don't want them to struggle financially if they don't have to.
If you could talk with someone that could give you some direction and a little education on how to make that money last
right.
and make it grow, then I'm thinking that you'd be better off in the long run. And you'd have something for your kids. And if you need anything, I'm right here, always.
Always. Say always. Oh, you know what I was...
She's a sweet child. She's a good mom. She is handling it okay on the surface, but there's a sadness there.
I've had a time where I had so much debt that I couldn't sleep. And unlike other periods in my life where I was able to out-hustle and work my way out of debt, in this particular situation, I couldn't. It taught me a lot about patience, and that's probably one of my most tested moments. Whenever I felt like giving up, when I'd ask for a sign, the sign would always say, stay, keep pushing. It wasn't $1 million check. It wasn't a $1,000 check, but it was just enough to keep me going. So I was like, all right, stick it out a little longer.
Everyone is struggling with something. You cannot find a solution while you're still hiding behind that wall of shame.
The moment I turned things around and got a new mindset, it wasn't an aha moment that was, the ceiling opened up and angels sang, oh, and everything was great. It wasn't that. It was $11.42. I ran out of Pampers and I went to the ATM to get $20 out, and it said I had $11.42, insufficient funds. And I had to wrap my son in a towel. I was repeating what I had learned from my mom, which was spend it fast. In that moment, I said, I don't know how to make or keep or grow money.
But we are getting to the point of ingredients now that are making it able for us to get on that pathway to financial wellness.
People think, oh, you have to be rich to see a financial professional. It's not true. You can pay a flat fee and go see someone annually for a checkup to help you create a plan and stay on course.
The first step of becoming financially successful is to get started. We're in the process of trying to help our people all across the country get from where we are financially to where we believe we have the potential to be. My mother's religion is shopping, right? So, like most families, we didn't really talk about money a lot.
D-Free is a transformational lifestyle movement that uses faith-based principles and practical approaches to financial management to help people become financially free.
35% of African Americans have a negative net worth. We don't own anything. Our debt exceeds our assets. All of those problems that have economic implications motivated me to create D-Free, to partner with other people who are very serious about our people rising out of this economic cesspool and really experiencing financial wellness. When my grandmother died, she had raised 6 children, and she was a seamstress. She sold other people's clothes for a living. When she died at 80 years old, she left 3 houses paid for. I stood at her grave, and I said to myself, I am embarrassed now, and I got to change. And if I died right now, all I'd have to leave anybody is credit card bills. There's an emotion that's building in Black America towards self-sufficiency, economic empowerment. I think the atmosphere is being infected by possibilities. What we bring to that atmosphere is strategy, because a dream without a strategy is just an illusion.
Hi. I'm glad that I'm getting to talk with you because my mom left us some money and we're getting ready to sell the house.
Talk to a professional.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that.
About a 529 plan for your kids.
Okay.
That grows tax-free.
Okay. There's certain responsibilities that we all have, but there's a different kind of freedom that you can have when you know you have a plan on the other side of it. That concept of freedom and just liberation and being able to breathe and really live and exist and move in the world from a position of power because you now feel in control of your circumstances and in control of your situations.
Anytime you hit me, I'll come right back.
I appreciate it greatly. I really love it. I love
I've heard so many great things about you.
Thank
I'm
you.
just so impressed, and I can't wait to see where you're headed.
I love Detroit. I love my city. I have a group of friends. One is starting a makeup company. She quit her job and she just went straight for it. Like, I'm just gonna do it. It was kind of a group of us that got together. We're just talking, like, what can we do to inspire people to do the things that they want to do? For a long time, I was scared to step out. I was scared to say, let's start a business because I'm scared of failing. But you have to fail to get somewhere.
Across the water from another country, our birth, a starting line, our journey constantly evolving. We were born moving, a metropolis of ideas, our minds the workstations of the future. We are the inherited legacy, Black Wall Street to Black Bottom. Detroit is still on the front line of the world's imagination. How we finish defines our legacy. We were born moving.
Strong Black woman living in America?
If you would have asked me what strong Black woman means to me 5 years ago, I would have given you flexing and stoic.
I feel a sense of obligation.
Holding the world. And
I mean, you get up and you do what you need to do to accomplish what it is that needs to be accomplished.
People call me a strong Black woman all the time. I feel like the cape became my noose.
The super sister soldier.
I've got it. I don't need help. I'm not a burden on anyone.
We put it on every morning. We wash it off every night.
But what happens is if no one sees you crumble, they don't believe that you do.
What's your favorite slogan about Atlanta?
Oh, wow. You mean aside from Atlanta got a mayor named Keisha? Let me see. Atlanta's a city too busy to hate, and we're too smart to rest. We can't settle. We look at any number of things that have separated us from other cities, and if you get comfortable, you'll lose it. We're gonna leave it all on the battlefield. History will be kind to what we've done for those who are yet to come. What I show to people is that anything is possible, especially in Atlanta. Your dreams don't have to be limited by your circumstances. Your dreams don't have to be limited by what other people think you should be and who you should be. And I hope that as a mayor with the name Keisha, that it says to little girls and little boys, this is yours too.
Atlanta truly is a mecca, man. It's a fertile ground of just creative energy, this entrepreneurship.
Cooperative economics is the core of Atlanta, and it's still the spirit of Atlanta. Pre-civil rights movements, African Americans lived in the same community. They worked together, they went to church together. Your education, what you did professionally, that didn't matter. You were in the same neighborhood, and because of that, you learned to invest in one another. Because of that spirit, things blossom in this city.
This is prime real estate down here in Atlanta. And if you're not looking at the numbers, our numbers are dwindling. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to preserve a legacy.
There's never enough conversation about financial literacy, generational wealth. That has to be the forefront of the conversation every day. If not, we will lose this city. While it's nice to have all these big buildings and all these companies moving to town, and how much participation do we have as a people in that growth and development?
I set a goal for myself that I wanted to become a millionaire by the age of 30. My first experience with business I can think of are when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and my grandfather started businesses in Mobile back in the 50s and 60s and passing them on to my dad. And one of the things that I would do in the summer times is I would help them by counting money. It would be my responsibility to count the ones. I saw my mom start businesses when I was really young as well. I remember her reaching certain milestones and being excited, and I also remember times when it was really tight. Money was tight, it was hard. I would see her crying sometimes because things were challenging.
I made a decision as I have been exposed to generational wealth that our family was never gonna struggle again. When I first started the agency, and I really didn't have anything extra. In fact, I didn't have enough. So extra was
not on the table.
Not on the table. I mean, you got upset because you only had one pair of K-Swiss and you had to wear them with everything.
That's why I was upset.
But I did feel like at the time that if we took the step back for that period, that we would be able to take more steps forward.
Yeah. I think that really motivated me and helped me and made me feel like it was possible to start a business myself because I had that exposure. I first had an idea to start a business when I was in high school and I was a painter. Someone offered to purchase the art and I was like, oh.
When she was negotiating that first painting, I was like, oh, maybe, she's got a little neck for business.
When I went out to Google working in Silicon Valley, there were people who were working at Google one day and then they would go to a startup or go start a startup themselves. That was like planting a seed, showing me entrepreneurship in a different way than I had seen it before. The company I started was called Part Pick, and we created technology to recognize replacement parts.
For her to bring something like this together, I just knew all along. In fact, the first time she called me and she told me what she was planning, I was like, that's a hit. That's a home run.
Unfortunately, the morning after I sold my company, I could not get out of the bed. I was crying, I was upset, and it wasn't necessarily because of the fact that I sold the company. It was more so just feeling somewhat out of control, and that's when I was actually diagnosed with depression.
I think a challenge for Black women in general is you have so many identities that you have to balance. They tout how, there's a rise of professional Black women graduating from college and being entrepreneurs, but they don't talk about the challenges that go along with it. Even though there are more Black women entrepreneurs, they're actually making less than they were a decade ago. So you look at that and you think, what does that mean when you go into a professional space and you're maybe the only, or you have less than what everyone else has? How does that make you feel like you have to show up?
Yes, we as Black women are strong. When I think of what we've had to endure as a people, there's generational trauma. I don't like crying. I'm not a crier, but that's part of trying to live up to this standard of being strong and always taking, and never asking for help, never saying, I can't.
A strong Black woman can talk to you about anything, no matter what obstacles are in her way. I've been through depression. I've been through anxiety. You're strong because you can speak out about your situation, because you never know who you can help.
The
gathering spot is a private membership club that has a workspace amenity. It definitely was built from the mind frame of people like ourselves who are Black professionals seeking a space where it's not about being tolerated, it's about being celebrated, being able to access your best self because you feel that security and connectivity in the space.
It is not only appropriate and cool and trendy to invest in Black entrepreneurs, it makes good business sense to do it. Jewel is an excellent example of this concept where by doing well, it facilitates the opportunity to be helpful to other people.
Experiencing injustice and feeling slighted in different ways throughout the course of my life and feeling like I've always had to do more and work harder and be better. I think that must be the reason that I'm specifically focused on giving my time to Black entrepreneurs and resources to Black entrepreneurs. I mean, I had investors ask me if my team was still Black. I've had people say that they've never invested in a Black woman and kind of infer that they would not be starting with me. I would do trade shows where I would have members of my team with me, and I could almost always count on people not directing questions or speaking to me at all. They would rather speak to the young white male intern that I would have. And that, to me, obviously it hurt my feelings, but it also just kind of showcased what I was up against.
Hey, how are you?
After I sold my business, I was really having somewhat of an identity crisis. I put a post out there that said, hey, I'm open to meeting with entrepreneurs every morning at the gathering spot. I'm gonna be there for breakfast anyway, so might as well have some company. And I got an overwhelming response from just putting out a simple post like that. And so over the course of the last 2 years, I probably met with over 100 entrepreneurs.
Raising more money at this point is one of the big questions I heard. I find that e-commerce companies usually are losing money the first couple of years because they are.
Being a mentor to other people has allowed me to just be helpful to them, to learn more about what they're working on, and really teach them lessons from mistakes that I made. So what's the timeline look like for that?
So phase 1 is June.
Okay.
Phase 2 would be August,
Okay,
September.
so not too far.
Exactly.
I started about 1.5 years ago, and I am just coming out of what I call the valley of disappointment. So hearing other entrepreneurs go through the same things, especially talking to people like Jewel, it's helped me to understand that what I'm going through is normal.
Maybe it's better to focus on those kind of 3 verticals, since those are the ones that are picking up some traction. I don't think that there's anything that's so special about me that can't also come into play in other people's stories, and I can be a relatable source for people that are on the path and not sure if they can get there. And hopefully seeing me helps them feel like they can.
I'm just so thankful for everything that you've poured into me over the years. And I feel like I have this amazing advantage because of you. So thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
Behind me is the home of Alonzo Franklin Herndon, Atlanta's first Black millionaire. Alonzo Franklin Herndon was born into slavery. He would actually be emancipated at 6 years old and come to Atlanta to create his fortune. He is the founder of Atlanta Life Insurance Company. The legacy of Alonzo Herndon is one of generosity, sacrifice, it's a legacy of self-determination. And that's the legacy that we live today as entrepreneurs, continuing the work that he has started for us.
Plant seeds that will grow trees whose shade you may never sit under. And for me, that defines legacy. As I'm sitting next to this great oak right now, at some point, someone planted that tree.
Dreams and aspirations and upliftment has always been a struggle in the African American community. That's been the real genius of the Black experience, how we have dealt with these challenges, no matter where we are in this country.
We know that Black people have created a lot of amazing things, and historically, they do not reap the financial benefits of it. And I think that one of the things that this generation is doing is trying to close that gap.
If you think we're cultural influencers now, we'll get ready when we can afford to finance our own ideas. There are ideas sitting in people that they can't activate on because they don't have the financial fortitude to be able to see them through.
I am a Black woman, I am a business owner, and the women that work with me look like me. And I always tell them that the world doesn't always want your Black girl magic, but I want it. You get to decide what your legacy looks like. You get to shift your community from the inside out. You get to be the solution for the problems that you see.
As hard as we are on ourselves and each other, we have to take a moment to step back and say, man, we're doing it. We have a lot to be proud of. But there are brothers and sisters to our right and to our left that may not be doing as well as us. And it's our job to bring them up and bring them with us.
Imagine that freedom and luxury and privilege of sitting around the dinner table and just pontificate on our ancestors. Imagine when you don't have financial wellness, when you don't have financial security. Those dinner conversations are different.
Because I was born, because you can hear my voice, because I have air in my body, abundance is my birthright. This generation will change the planet and the financial landscape of America and Black America and humanity.
The Black story is the American story. And because America is a beacon of the world, that means Black people are the beacons of this world. And it's time that we start owning that, recognizing that, and realizing that, and letting our light shine.
Cheers to the winner. I toast to the fire in me. Came through the fire in spite of all the pain. Born a survivor in a race, so odds against me. All I desire is my American dream. Though they try to break us down, 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 we ain't never gonna bow, bow, bow. Both feet on the ground, ground, ground. Ain't no more running. Together we come so far. Now we know who we are. No more wishing on the star. Getting off our knees, walking toward our destiny. And even if my skin was my only sin, see my legacy in front of me. And still I won't bend my soul, let me in. I won't wait for it. I won't wait for it. I see my legacy in front of me. And still I won't bend my soul, let me in. I won't wait for it. Blue blood in my veins, so I could never surrender. Pain rooted deep, but now we're growing together. Rise up to the occasion, no matter what the weather. Rain down on me, oh. Promise that I'll be here forever. Though they try to break us down, 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 we ain't never gonna bow, bow, bow. Both feet on the ground, ground, ground. Ain't no more running. Together we come so far. Now we know who we are. No more wishing on the star. Getting off our knees, walking toward